guys, it's Steph, your host for Sundays on the Many Shades of Gay. First of all, before I start, I just want to say that this past week I bought the sexiest thing alive. Yeah, I know you see it, and I know you think it's sexy. And its sound is so fluid, kind of like the topic for this week, sexual fluidity. So, if you don't know already, I consider myself a sexually fluid person, meaning I kind of drift between liking males and females, and it's kind of just like a fluid thing. It's not nothing set in stone. It's just kind of, whatever happens. So this topic's really cool this week because I got to do a little bit of research about it and took some time to look at the history of it a little bit. So I think someone earlier this week, I don't remember who, talked about the Kinsey scale. And there's this guy named Kinsey, and he created this scale of what he thought sexual orientation is like, ranging from 0, which is exclusively heterosexual, to 6, which is exclusively homosexual. And it's a range, so the numbers in between represent different levels of heterosexual or homosexual activity. So here's a picture of that. And the scale was actually also expanded by a guy named Dr. Fritz Klein, and he created the Klein Sexual Orientation Grid, which is basically the same thing as the Kinsey scale, except he made different sexual questions. Some examples: to whom are you sexually attracted? With whom have you actually had sex? About whom are your sexual fantasies? And so on. Certain questions like that. Also emotional questions, other things like that. And he made those questions, and then he made 3 categories of past, present, and ideal. And then people were asked to fill in numbers 0 to 7 on what they thought about that. And the scale was kind of based off of Kinsey's. So, anyways, a lot of the studies done on sexual fluidity are kind of iffy, I would say. There's not a whole lot of concrete, really, truly scientific things done with it. There are some, but the sample sizes weren't big enough to say, oh yeah, this is a really good statistic. But I do think that the statistics can be really helpful. One little fact that was found in a longitudinal study about the development, I guess, of gay, lesbian, and bisexual people was that of youths who had identified as bisexual, 60 to 70% of them actually stayed bisexual, like they continued throughout their life to identify as bisexual, and about 30 to 40% of them actually changed, I guess, changed over to the gay, lesbian identity over time. Let's see. Some other statistics is that, and this kind of deals with the gender issue, because I know also earlier this week, someone said something about females are kind of more likely to be sexually fluid than males. But this is what I found. According to a study from the National Center for Health Statistics, they found that 1.8% of men ages 18 to 44 considered themselves bisexual, 2.3% homosexual, and 3.9% as something else. The same study found that 2.8% of women ages 18 to 44 considered themselves bisexual, 1.3% homosexual, and 3.8% as something else. So basically, males, there were less males, there was less of a percentage of males, I guess, that were bisexual, but there were more that were homosexual, and there's about the same of something else. Now, I guess that kind of goes into the whole thing where are labels really that important, and if we're labeling ourselves, can we really get an accurate view of what we think about sexuality or attraction? Which is really hard to answer, because honestly, if you're going to ask me that question, I would say that labels can't really help us determine who we're attracted to sexually or emotionally. It's kind of shady. It's kind of fluid, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I guess that's what I think about sexual fluidity, and being a person who kind of can identify with like being sexually fluid. It's interesting because all the people that I've talked to that have identified as either gay or lesbian have also had tendencies to be attracted in some way to the opposite sex. So in a way, I kind of feel like everyone's got a little bit of fluidity to their sexuality, if that makes sense. Also, a lot of the people that I've talked to that are heterosexual, as long as they're not closed-minded about it, they've tended to have the same results as well. There are certain things about the same sex that they found attractive. So I think that's kind of interesting. Sorry if this is a long video, but okay. That's about it. So have a good week, guys, and hopefully the sun will come out a little bit. Adios.